Hello everyone in the Ansakari, and today we will look out at the Rajya Sabha as we did about the Lok Sabha in the previous video, like the chairpersons and the panel of other chairpersons. And in the case of there is a vacancy for the speaker post, who and in what conditions to hold that post and what kind of perks and privileges he or she gets. So if we talk about the Rajya Sabha chairman, so he's a presiding officer and the vice president of India enjoys this exercise as the ex officio chairman of the Council of State. And if the vice president is removed from his post, then the deputy chairman of the Rajya Sabha holds this post. Like Speaker of the Lok Sabha, the chairman of the Rajya Sabha do not have a normal voting power. The time he is serving as a chairman, he exercises the vote as a casting vote to avoid the equality of votes between the opposition and the majority party in the House. Then one more thing as far as the vice president and speaker is concerned. So vice president cannot preside as a chairman when the resolution for his removal is there in the Rajya Sabha. So that removal is being considered by the Rajya Sabha. So at that moment, he cannot chair the position of Rajya Sabha chairman, but he can be present and speak, and also he cannot vote on any matter discussed so. But the speaker has a little more power here that the speakers when the resolution in the Lok Sabha is considered and discussed, then speaker can vote in the first instance, but chairman cannot, which simply means that speaker is a part of Lok Sabha. So when a resolution to remove him or to prove him guilty is considered in the Lok Sabha, he becomes the normal MP of the House and deputy speaker performs that role. But in the case of resolution to remove chairman of the Rajya Sabha, the constitution do not provide chairman such power. It says that you are not the core part of the Rajya Sabha. You are mainly the vice president. Therefore, you cannot become the normal MP of Rajya Sabha and you cannot vote. So he cannot vote in the first instance. He is only having the power of casting vote. And both of their salaries are charged, which simply means that it can be discussed but can't be voted within the respective houses. This is to provide the security of the privileges to both the chairpersons. If we study about deputy chairman, so deputy chairman is also elected as we have the elected deputy speaker in the Lok Sabha. All the members of the Rajya Sabha elects the deputy chairman and chairman decides the date and the manner in which the deputy chairman will be elected. The deputy chairman can also vacates his office by resigning. His resignation letter should reach out to the chairman of the House. Number two, if his election is considered as disqualified under various provisions. And the third, if the resolution to remove deputy chairman is also passed. And again, the similar dates provisions we have, like 14 days advance notice, needs to be given to the deputy chairman the time we are considering a resolution to remove them. Then, in the case of absence, he performs the office of chairman and he is also directly responsible to the Rajya Sabha because he is normal MP of the Rajya Sabha, unlike chairman. So he is directly responsible to the House, and when presides, he loses his first instance vote and exercise casting vote. But when he becomes a normal MP, so he only exercises the initial and the first instance vote, which is available to all the MPs. Then two more important institutions we have in the Rajya Sabha, that is panel of vice chairpersons, because we have panel of chairpersons in Lok Sabha and panel of vice chairpersons in Rajya Sabha. Now they are the member, they could be number of like 10 to 14 to 15. They are not elected, they are nominated from the House by the chairman itself. And they perform the duties of the post of vice chairperson or deputy chairman and the chairman In case they are absent, they have resigned, the resolution is passed to remove them. So such kind of offices we have in the Rajya Sabha. And last is we have, that is secretariat. So we have Lok Sabha secretary and we have Rajya Sabha secretary. So the duties are to provide the secretarial assistance, the administrative assistance to the chairpersons, to the chairpersons, and to the panels also of both the respective houses. And all these two secretariats are headed by the Secretary General of both the houses. And even the time you are becoming a minister, you are taking the oath and affirmation. So it is under the supervision of the Secretary General you does this exercise. And this designation of Secretary General is a permanent officer and appointed by the presiding officer. Now, if a question appears in the exam, do these permanent officers or the Secretary Generals comes from the All India services? So the answer will be no. They are not the part of All India services. They are the part of Parliament itself, and they are um, given the secretarial general position via the nomination by the chairman and by the speaker itself. Then, if we talk about leader of house and leader of opposition, so these are two important designations we have, not in the Indian Constitution, but in the rules of the house of both the houses. So, if we talk about leader of the house, so the rules of Lok Sabha defines this position, which simply says that either the Prime Minister or any member of the Lok Sabha or any minister who is nominated by the Prime Minister will be considered as a leader of the House in the Lok Sabha, and similarly in the case of Rajya Sabha. But if the Prime Minister is not ready to hold that designation, so it is a must condition for the Prime Minister to nominate. No any other member, even the Parliamentarian Affair Minister cannot say that, okay, the Prime Minister is not available, so let me have this chance to nominate that person. No, it is a compulsion for the Prime Minister under the rules of the House of the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha to nominate that person so as to ensure that the conduct is done by MPs as per their political party's mandate. Then the leader of opposition. So leader of opposition comes from the largest opposition party. And we have a criteria, that is a political party to become the main opposition party in the House of the Parliament, that should must have at least 1/10 of the seat of the total strength. So we have 545 in the Lok Sabha and 245 in the case of Rajya Sabha. So you better can identify as to what will constitute the 10% of the total composition of the houses. And the leader of the opposition was not even mentioned in the rules of the House. When we are talking about leader of the House, so this was mentioned in the rule of the House. But leader of opposition was not mentioned in the rule of the House. But post 1977, post the emergency phase, the constituent, the Parliament realized the importance of this position and provided a statutory recognition, which simply that they passed a bill which made the leader of opposition as a legal part of the rules of the both the houses. So we have leader of opposition in Lok Sabha also, in Rajya Sabha also. And this bill comes in, I think, 1977, which is talking about the salaries and the allowances. So Salary and Allowances Act is mentioning this leader of opposition as a statutory part. And whip, we have talked that who is whip. Whip is a representative of a political party in both the houses who ensures that rule of the houses, principles of the constitution, and the parliamentary statutes are regulated and are abided by the MPs of their political party, and also to take the human resource work, that is to have the attendance work, the membership work, the affidavit work. So these are all the responsibilities of the whip. And in case directions given by the whip is not accorded by any individual or the collective MPs, so those MPs are liable for the disciplinary action. It is also mentioned in the various parliamentary law which we have, and particularly in the anti-defection law in the 10th schedule. Now, if we talk about the parliamentary procedures as to how the parliament actually works, the parliament starts
प्रवेश,
with, yes.
I have one question. जैसे आपने
Yes.
बताया कि लीडर ऑफ अपोजिशन लोकसभा, तो व्हाट इज अ प्रोविजन रिगार्डिंग डेप्यूटी लीडर ऑफ लोकसभा ऑफ अपोजिशन? ऐसा कुछ स्टैट्यूटरी प्रोविजन दिया गया उनके लिए कि वो अपने से सिर्फ है डेप्यूटी लीडर ऑफ अपोजिशन?
और यहाँ पे एक चीज मेरे को भी डाउट है कि लीडर ऑफ ऑपोजिशन राज्यसभा के ऐसा भी सेपरेट डेजिग्नेशन होती है या वो सेम रहता है दोनों के लिए, लोकसभा राज्यसभा के लिए?
सेपरेट होगा।
See, leader of
और
opposition will be different because one person,
हम्म,
if is having membership of Lok Sabha, I mentioned this also, that only one person can become the member of one house at one time. So if a person X is coming from Lok Sabha and is nominated as a leader of opposition, so how he can represent the leader of opposition role in the Rajya Sabha? There should be person Y. So hope, yes, Oshik, what you were asking?
आई वाज आस्किंग अबाउट अ डेप्यूटी लीडर ऑफ अपोजिशन। उनको भी स्टैट्यूटरी प्रोविजन दिया है कि वो ऐसी एक डेप्यूटी प्राइम मिनिस्टर जैसा पोजीशन है? वो मैं बता।
No, I think there is no statutory recognition for the deputy leader.
ठीक है।
It is
और एक
only for.
हम्म,
हाँ बोलो.
दो चीज था इसमें फैक्ट कि लीडर ऑफ अपोजिशन लोकसभा में 10% चाहिए, तो वहां पर खाली है अभी भी। लेकिन लीडर ऑफ अपोजिशन इन राज्यसभा मलिक अर्जुन खड़गे जी, तो वहां पर है। ठीक,
Hmm.
कंटिन्यू।
Okay. So as we were talking about the parliamentary procedure, so parliamentary proceedings, they are usually called, uh, like how the session will take place. So it is mentioned here 0 hour, but before that 0 hour, the very first thing which happens in the parliament, that is question hour. So question hours, um, we can understand that where the parliamentarians comes within the premises of the house and they start raising questions on various general public important matters. In the constitution, these procedures are not mentioned. These procedures are mentioned in the rules of the houses, which we say the rules of the procedure of the houses and the business proceedings houses. So the very first hour of the parliament is question hour. Here member ask questions generally and the ministers or the representatives of the majority party give the answer. Here we also understand that what kind of questions they ask, like what are the provisions mentioned. So we have three important things here, that is stayed question, unstayed question, and short notice question. So stayed question is that which simply we can understand that immediate question. For an example, if we are a mini parliament and we have Mansi here. So Mansi is a minister and I'm a normal MP. I just immediate basis ask Mansi one question. So that question will become a stayed question. Ekdam se पूछा गया question. So in the rules it is mentioned that the question will also be oral, the answer will also be oral, and there can be number of questions supplementary. For an example, if I ask question for Mansi and she gives an answer, but I think that the answer is not sufficient for me, and I ask a subsequent question on that. So that is the meaning of stayed question. So number of questions can take place, and in the rules it is mentioned that these kind of questions will come under the category of green color. Then comes unstayed questions. Unstayed questions, which simply means which are prepared itself. I am coming with the documents in my hand and I have written the question that 2 days before yesterday I was thinking a question to be asked from Minister of External Affairs, and this is the question which I want to ask from you at the moment. So you give me the answer of that. Now you can ask me, we can ask a question to the minister, but minister will give the answer of only one question on a topic. He will not say that now you are allowed to subsequent question because you have framed one question in written format. So the rule says that it should be in the category of white question. So the shade are green unstayed or wide questions. And then the third category, second last category comes, that is short notice question. Here, the member of parliament asked questions from the minister, but they have to ensure that they inform the chairpersons and the panels that before number of days I will ask a question from this minister and you please assign me a slot for that. So that is short notice. You have to give 10 days notice. That is mentioned in the rules. And they are the questions which are light pink color. These are the categorization in the rules itself. And the last is, um, when you are asking a question to a normal MP, for an example, Mansi is the Minister of External Affairs, and Oshik is a normal MP coming from Bihar. So I am asking a question from the minister, and then I'm asking a question on the similar topic or any other topic from the Oshik as an MP. So that kind of questions come under the yellow color. So these are the four kind of questions which are asked in the question hour. Then comes the second hour, which is known as a 0 hour. So 0 hour is a such procedural aspect which is neither mentioned in the constitution, not even in the rules. So 0 hour has no sanctity behind it. It is an informal device. If a question appears that it is a formal or informal, so the answer will be informal. And here we can ask any matter, but that matter should be discussed with a little difference with the question hour, because here you do not have to give any notice, any formal recognition to the minister. You can ask any question in the 0 hour, and it starts after the question hour, just after the question hour, and it lasts until the main proceedings of the houses take place. And since 1962, we are having this convention. So we can say that 0 hour is a parliamentarian convention we have adopted. And this is an Indian kind of innovation we have in the Indian parliamentary procedure. And as it is highlighted here, that second hour of the parliament, 12 to 1. So because from 11, the session starts or the sitting starts every morning, and 11 to 12, we have the question hour. So 12 to 1, we have 0 hour. And 0 hour is not provided in the rules of parliament. So it's the convention 62. And questions are to be submitted 5 days in advance. So there would be some questions, but most of the questions you can simply ask there. There is no need to have such kind of formal acceptance of the information to the panels or to the chairpersons before discussions of these matters. And the matter will be urgent public importance. So this is about the 0 hour. So
So,
kindly,
Pravesh, can we say this in question? Are the nature of the questions which are asked is like the general concerns of the representatives on the part of the citizens, and in 0 hour, it is, as you just mentioned, is about the matters related to urgent attention.
no, I have mentioned that in both the hours, like question hours and 0 hours, you can ask the matters of normal importance, and you can ask the matters of general public importance also, urgent matters also. So there is no, separation that such kind of questions you will ask in 0 hour itself for the question hour. Any type of question you can mention, but there are some technical aspects that you have to give the notice, you have to inform the speaker of the panels, then you have to codify your questions under the color categorization, that is the green, white, light
So
pink,
then
and yellow.
why did India create this 0 hour? अगर ये सारे same questions हम question hour में पूछ रहे थे तो why was this need felt for the creation of
Okay, so
0 hour?
the need was in the question hour, the parliamentarians thought that 1 hour is not enough for us to discuss. We require 1 more hour. So rather to extend the question hour, what they did, they innovated 1 more hour, that is 0 hour. That is a simple logic behind it.
Okay, and what is the logic behind terming it to be 0? Why do we call it 0 hour?
Well, that we have to ask from the parliamentarians of that moment. Because I am not aware that why they not called it first
So
hour.
it would be written somewhere about this logic. It is not a mod. You'll have to ask them.
No,
We'll
there is
get the somewhere written कि why it is termed to be 0. तो मिल जाएगा.
no, if anyone can have such justifications or the answers. So I would also love to hear it. Okay, so stayed, unstayed, we have seen.
प्रवेश
Please
इसमें
scroll.
description दिया हुआ है कि in early days there used to be a lunch break in the parliament at 1 o'clock. MP would get a chance to raise the national issue at 12 noon without any prior notice. 1 घंटा के लिए उनको दिया जाता था up till 1 o'clock. फिर आप खाने जाते थे लंच ब्रेक के लिए. That is why it is called as 0 hour. एक ऐसा मतलब 62 से.
लॉजिक हाँ यही है.
Okay. No, this all these we have. Okay, so now we have the motions. So here comes those important matters which are really related to general public. Because in the question hours and in the 0 hour, you can raise any matter. But in the motions, you have to necessarily raise the matter of general public importance, which are really linked and subscribed to the people. Now you have when you start discussing such kind of things, you require motions to be passed for that discussion. Because you cannot say that I want to discuss this today and this relates to public importance. As we have seen in the case of judiciary, that PIL is a social interest and public interest litigation, but every public interest cannot be categorized under the PIL. So we have the technical aspects which are framed by the court over the course of time on the PIL submission. Similarly, we have in the parliament that every parliamentarian cannot be allowed to raise any matter under the category of general public importance. So first you have to present your matter under a category of motion, then that motion will have to be passed, and then the parliament, the whole parliament will discuss that. Because 1 day expenditure of the parliament, if we calculate, so that is 5 lakh for the Lok Sabha and 7.8 lakh for the Rajya Sabha. So it is a very highly costly exercise. So to prevent the wastage of money, we have these motions so that the debate and the discussions can take place on the real matters and with the proper codification as far as the constitution precedents, business proceedings rules, and the rules of the procedure are concerned. The very first motion we have is substantive motion. Calling attention and censure, they are the really big attention, important motions. But before that, we have also some motions, and that is substantive motion. Substantive motion is a motion which do not have to express the inner part of the motion, which simply means that if a motion is made by a parliamentarian that I want to discuss this matter, and that matter is having this title, that impeachment procedure, or it is written that misconduct of the minister or the prime minister, or if it is written that removal process of UPSC chairperson. So these are the motions which are substantive, which do not have to get explained. They are in itself is explaining that what could be the inner part of that motion. So इनको बोलते हैं substantive motion. Second is substitute motion. It is a motion to substitute the already motion which is tabled on the in the front of the parliamentarian. For an example, if the impeachment matter under the category of substantive motion is tabled, but the impeachment process of the president is not taken by the parliament, then they will pass a substitute motion and they will say that the substantive motion is duly substituted and now to take any another motion. So that is substitute motion, यानी पहले जो रखा गया उसको हटाने का तरीका substitute motion. Third is subsidiary motion. Subsidiary motion के अंदर 3 सब पार्ट होते हैं. पहला होता है एंसिलरी. एंसिलरी मोशन के अंदर आप कुछ भी डिस्कस कीजिए, मतलब ये थोड़े टेक्निकल एस्पेक्ट हैं मोशंस के, but the questions can appear in the prelims. That is why I'm explaining them. Number 2 is superseding. Again, to supersede, to cut short the debate, superseding motion and amendment. अमेंडमेंट मोशन जो है, आपको जो ओरिजिनल आपका मोशन है उसको कहीं ना कहीं काट रहा है या फिर उसको सब्स्टिट्यूट कर रहा है, तो वो सारे के सारे पार्ट सब्सिडारी मोशन के हैं। एंड द एडजर्नमेंट मोशन विच इज रिटन ऑन द स्क्रीन, दैट इज समवट डिफरेंट, आई विल कम ऑन दैट। नंबर 2 motion is closer motion. Closer motion is moved by member to cut short the debate. यानी आप मिनिस्टर हैं, आप प्रधानमंत्री हैं, आप कोई, अगर कोई एमपी कोई ऐसा मोशन लाना चाहे कि भाई आप लोगों ने इनफ चर्चा कर ली है, हमारे भी टाइम की इज्जत कीजिए और आप काटिए इसको, तो इट कैन बी मूव्ड बाय एनी मेंबर टू कट शॉर्ट द डिबेट ऑन एनी मैटर व्हिच इज डिस्कस्ड बाय एनी एमपी एंड मिनिस्टर और द पार्लियामेंट्री। अगर ये पास हो जाता है तो आपकी डिबेट वहीं की वहीं रुक जाएगी और इस पे वोट होगा। किस तरीके से आप डिबेट को बंद करवा सकते हैं? नाउ दीज इंफॉर्मेशन व्हिच आई एम गोइंग टू टेल, they have appeared in the prelims exam, so please pay attention.
So Pravesh,
Number
I have
one,
one question before we discuss the all these motions in detail, that जो भी अभी आपने mention किए motions, उनको pass करने के लिए we require simple majority.
no subject, like it is not mandatory that every time you require simple, it is subjective. In some motions you require simple, in some motions you require special majority.
Okay, ठीक है.
तो सिंपल क्लोजर, सिंपल क्लोजर में यही है कि आपने हाउस के अंदर बोल दिया कि भाई आप लोगों ने बहुत चर्चा कर ली है, अब आप इसको बंद कीजिए, तो सिंपल क्लोजर। व्हेन अ मेंबर मूव्स दैट मैटर इज ऑलरेडी डिस्कस सफिशिएंटली, प्लीज शट आउट और पुट दिस मैटर टू वोट। तो सिंपल क्लोजर के तहत डिबेट बंद हुई और इसको भी बोला जाता है क्लोजर मोशन। ये कोई मुद्दा चल रहा था, क्लोज हो गया। नंबर 2 सब पार्ट इज क्लोजर बाय कंपार्टमेंट। नाउ हियर सारे क्लोज पढ़ने थे आपको किसी बिल के ऊपर या किसी मुद्दे के ऊपर, और उनके ऊपर डिस्कशन भी होना था, वोटिंग भी होनी थी। लेकिन आपने क्या किया कि जो बड़ा मुद्दा था उसको अलग अलग कंपार्टमेंट्स में बांट दिया। यानी अगर बिल है ट्रांसजेंडर्स के ऊपर, तो ट्रांसजेंडर्स के बिल के अंदर अलग अलग चीजें हैं कि ट्रांसजेंडर की सेल्फ आइडेंटिफिकेशन मैकेनिज्म क्या होगा, डिस्ट्रिक्ट कलेक्टर और एसपी का रोल क्या होगा, एग्जीक्यूटिव लेजिस्लेशन उसमें क्या होगा, उसके प्रावधान क्या होंगे, ट्रांसजेंडर की एज क्या डिटरमाइन होगी, ट्रांसजेंडर का ग्रीवेंस रिड्रेसल कैसे होगा, हॉस्पिटलाइजेशन अगर हो जाते हैं तो उसके अंदर जो मेडिकल सुपरिटेंडेंट ऑफ हॉस्पिटल है उसका क्या रोल होगा। तो इतनी सारी चीजें हैं मुद्दे के अंदर, सभी के ऊपर डिस्कशन होना था। तो आपने क्या किया, आपने क्लोजर करवा दिया कंपार्टमेंट करके, यानी बिल को अलग अलग भागों में तोड़ दिया। ये जो मैंने आपकी अभी आपको एग्जांपल के तहत बताया, इनको आपने पार्ट्स में तोड़ दिया डिबेट शुरू होने से पहले ही, और आपने किसी एक कंपार्टमेंट के ऊपर बात करके ये बोल दिया कि पूरे के ऊपर हमने बात कर ली है और आप मुद्दे को यही की पास करवा दीजिए, वोट डाल दीजिए, इस पर बंद करिए डिबेट। तो इसको बोला जाता है क्लोजर मोशन बाय कंपार्टमेंट। तीसरा होता है कंगारू, कंगारू क्लोजर। कंगारू क्लोजर के अंदर क्या होता है कि आपका कैसा भी बिल हो, लेकिन आपने क्या किया कि कंगारू क्लोजर के अंदर आपने हाउस के अंदर ये बोल दिया कि अगर आधार बिल है, आधार बिल के ऊपर चर्चा होनी है, तो आप सिर्फ टेक्निकल एस्पेक्ट को उठा लीजिए कि नोडल अथॉरिटी कौन होगा और उन्हीं की चर्चा कर लीजिए, उन्हीं से सारा आधार बिल डिस्कस हो जाएगा। तो आपने क्या किया, आपने ऐसा मोशन पास करवा दिया, वोटिंग हो गई, तो आपका बंद हो गया डिस्कशन। इसको बोला जाता है कंगारू क्लोजर। यानी कंपार्टमेंट और कंगारू के अंदर हुआ तो सेम ही चीज है, लेकिन कंपार्टमेंट के अंदर आपने कंपार्टमेंट कर दिए बिल के, यहाँ पे कंपार्टमेंट नहीं हुए। यहाँ पे आपने बोला कि इंपॉर्टेंट मुद्दा कौन सा है पूरे बिल का, वो उठाओ, उसको पास करो, पूरा बिल पास। एंड द लास्ट क्लोजर मोशन इज गिलोटाइन। दिस आल्सो अपीयर्ड इन द प्रीलिम्स एग्जाम नंबर ऑफ टाइम, गिलोटाइन क्लोजर। इसका मतलब होता है कि जब आपके अनडिस्कस्ड क्लोजेज जो हैं वो और जो डिस्कस्ड है वो दोनों को एक कैटेगरी के अंदर मानकर कि सारे ही डिस्कस कर दिए हमने, तो और आप वोट डाल के पास करवाइए, डिबेट बंद करवाइए, इसको बोला जाता है गिलोटाइन क्लोजर। इन द कंटेम्पररी पार्लियामेंट, if we look the report of Association of Democratic Reforms, so we will find that motions, and in particular the guillotine motion, is used most often by the chairpersons in both the houses, which is an allegation on the majoritarianism, which is an allegation on the majority party that the opposition is deprived of their rights to discuss and to do the arbitration within the premises of the house on the bills. And it is also commented that most of the laws are becoming executive in nature because the provisions are converted under the guillotine closer motion and the debate is not allowed to do so. Then if we talk about the first motion which is mentioned on the screen, that is calling attention motion. Kindly scroll above, please. The first part. No, on the above. Yeah. Calling attention motion. Now, as the name is suggesting, calling attention. किसी मुद्दे के ऊपर आप पूरे पार्लियामेंट की निगाह लाना चाहते हैं एंड पार्लियामेंट की निगाह में भी आप पर्टिकुलरली उस मिनिस्ट्री के मिनिस्टर की निगाह लाना चाहते हैं, उस लिए यूज होता है कॉलिंग अटेंशन मोशन. दैट आई वांट टू bring into attention of the minister a particular matter which is associated with that ministry, and that is urgent matter, urgent public important matter, where I want the authoritative statement from the minister. That if you are saying that National Commission on Child and their annual report is saying that we are reducing the child poverty, we are reducing the child malnutrition, we are reducing the child marginalization, but in the front of the office of National Commission we have the child labor practices which are going on, and being an MP I've seen that. So it is my due right to raise the matter to that particular minister of the Ministry of Women and Child Development, so as to give the authoritative statement that how such kind of practice is already happening even in the front of the government offices. Now this is mentioned in the rules of the procedure of both the houses. And if we talk about the inception of this idea, so this is also an Indian innovation which started from the 1954 itself. So this is calling attention. Then now we have the privilege motion. As we understand these days that most of the parliamentarians are disbanded to enter the Parliament House on the charges of misuse of their privileges, individual as well as the collective privileges of the Parliament. So we have privilege motion. Now what is privilege motion? It is concerned when you as an MP of either house have breached your parliamentarian privileges. But this is also mostly associated with the ministers, because the privileges of a minister is much more broader, wider and comprehensive in comparison to a normal MP. So if a minister breaches his parliamentary privileges, then any member of the parliament of either house can raise this motion that this particular X or Y minister has breached his privileges, and now it is the responsibility of the whole house to accept this motion and to not accept this motion. Now what happens if this motion gets passed? If this motion gets passed, so it will bring that minister into the limelight and subject to the disqualification from the post of the minister. Then comes adjournment motion. Now adjournment motion is also a motion on which the public important matters are raised. But here we have some other aspects, which are that in the other motions there is no necessary condition of the MPs to support that motion to get admitted. But here we have, that is, when the adjournment motion is to be tabled in either house, it requires minimum support of 50 MPs to get even admitted. 50 MPs को साथ खड़े होना है आपके कि हाँ हमारा जो साथी है पार्लियामेंटेरियन जो एडजर्नमेंट मोशन लाने जा रहा है हम इसको सहयोग करते हैं. Now why? The question comes why? Why 50 MPs? So the answer lies in the adjournment motion, because adjournment motion is something related to the adjournment of the house and interruption of the normal business of the house. also the censuring of the government, which simply means that in the adjournment motion, the main motive is to censure the government, the executive, the union government, that you are not doing work, and the Rajya Sabha is not permitted, as this question was asked day before yesterday by our side. Now there is a time limit also on this motion, that is 2.30 hours. 2.5 घंटा कम से कम या ज्यादा से ज्यादा आप एडजर्नमेंट मोशन को डिस्कस करेंगे। 2.30 से ज्यादा नहीं होगा। 2.5 घंटे के अंदर पता लग जाएगा कि आपके 50 मित्रों का आपका जो सहयोग आपको दे रहे हैं वो कितना कारगर है, सेंश्योर कर पा रहा है गवर्नमेंट पे, नहीं कर पा रहा। तो किन किन मैटर्स पर हो सकता है? सबसे पहला मैटर है पब्लिक मैटर। अब पब्लिक मैटर अर्जेंट मैटर हो गया, इंपॉर्टेंट मैटर हो गया,